TV crew there in the booth. Here we go. We're going in 5, 4, 3. Good evening, Camby. Welcome to the, June 17th, 2020 regular City Council meeting. Appreciate everyone being here this evening. Councillor Hensley sends her regards. She will not be joining us this evening. You'll just have to put up with what you see on your TV screen. We have a full agenda tonight. This is the last meeting in June, which is when we tend to close out our fiscal year and approve a couple of things to wrap us up, and then also approve a few things to close out all of our budget season and move into a new fiscal year starting July 1st. So thank you all for being here. We'll move in. Second thing on the agenda this evening is communications. Amanda, Melissa, Joe, anything on your end?
Mayor, this is Melissa. I have one reminder. I wanted to remind council that the mayor and 4 council positions will be on the November 3rd ballot. So the filing period open for these positions, and candidates can turn in their filing forms and their signature sheets to me for approval. And I wanted to remind everyone that if you're going to file, you need to have your signature sheet approved by me before you start circulating that. So please give me a call, email me, or call me, and we'll set up an appointment.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that reminder. Anything else?
Nothing else.
Okay. We will move into citizen input and community announcements. So the opportunity for audience members to address City Council on items not agenda. Each person will be given 3 minutes to speak. Staff and the City Council will make every effort to respond to questions raised during citizen input before the meeting ends or as quickly as possible thereafter. And since we've gone virtual and looks like we may be going virtual for some time to come, we've asked that if you do want to make comments to the City Council or speak to us virtually in person, to email our city recorder by 5 o'clock on the day of the City Council meeting. And Melissa, do we have anyone this evening joining us?
We do. We have one person here for public comment.
Great. Thank you. And who do we have joining us this evening?
Hi, it's Paul Hildestocker. How are you?
Paul, how are you, sir?
I am doing well. I hope everyone else is too. I have some, this is more questions to get information and concerns with Ordinance 1489. And I was not able to get a hold of the Camby, what's the paper called now? The Herald, something. Anyway, I subscribed to the paper and didn't keep the articles where it stated something to the effect that the Canby School District was going to go ahead and use the fireworks to the virtual graduation. And so my question is, was it the Canby School District that made that decision?
So, Paul, you're asking if it was the Canby School District's decision to shoot off the fireworks for the virtual graduation?
That is correct.
That is my understanding that that was a high school district decision to make, yes.
Okay, then I'm going to be brief here. I'd like to read the following from the City of Canby paper that I got when we were making the amendment. And I'll read it real quick for the record. An ordinance amending Canby Municipal Code, Chapter 9.48.050A regarding noise variance exceptions and declaring an emergency. Skip now and I'll go down to now. Therefore, the City of Canby, Oregon ordains as follows. Section 1, the Canby Municipal Code, Chapter 9.48.050A is hereby amended to read as follows. Exemptions and variances. Exemptions. The following sounds are exempted from the provisions of this chapter. And then you go down to number 4. This is the language that was in the ordinances before. Sounds produced by sound amplifying equipment at activities. The new language is including fireworks and other explosive devices at football games sponsored by Canby School District. My problem is that I'm seeing it as a singular thing to use fireworks, and it's at the football games. Am I interpreting that wrong?
No, Paul, you are not interpreting that incorrectly. You're correct.
Okay, then the problem is that if we are going to be relegated to following ordinances as citizens and/or laws, if you'd like to call them that, then was there a variance that was applied for this celebration of fireworks from Camby School District?
No, sir, there was not.
Okay, then we have a problem because.
We do.
And then let me do this, and then I'm going to close out. Section 2 of this paper, inasmuch as it is in the best interest of the citizens of Canby, Oregon, to enact the ordinance as soon as possible, due to the event scheduled in early September, an emergency is hereby declared to exist, and this ordinance shall therefore take effect immediately upon its enactment after the final reading. This was of August 2018. So I've gone back into my documents, and it seems to me that we have a problem. And instead of doing this where I have to have somebody come in and clean up after me, I understand that. I would appreciate it if there's a way that some members of the city council would like to get together on the outside someplace, have coffee, and discuss this and see if there's a conclusion that can be made, because otherwise this is a fiasco. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. And I have had conversation with our city attorney about the fireworks piece that coincided with the graduation events here for the high school. And so I will be having some, unfortunately, I still need to have some more conversation with him regarding that. But you are correct in your interpretation of what we agreed to and what we put forth regarding the ordinance. And so we do need to, as a council, follow up and have, frankly, some very frank conversation with the school district and or the school board regarding these things outside of what we've laid out for that ordinance piece. I appreciate the challenges of the situation this year with graduation, absolutely. And I know that they try to do additional special events for this year's graduating class. And I do know that we did ask that we worked with things outside of the scope of the high school football game. So myself, the interim city manager and the city attorney will be handling it accordingly. And I will let you know what comes of that.
Okay, and then I guess being a preacher's kid, I've got a little preacher in me. This isn't the first time that this has happened. So this has been an ongoing problem since this amendment, and I've put up with it. So I would really like to be a part of this conversation, and damage has been done here, and it needs to stop. So at that I will conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Councilor Spoon, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I just have a question for Paul, because I want to make sure I understand. Like, Paul called me, and we had a conversation about it. And Paul, did you tell me on the phone that the Canby police had come by and told you that fireworks were going to happen?
Yes, they did, and I don't know where that's coming from, if that's from the Canby police doing a nice thing for me, or if the school has asked them for that. But which reminds me again, I'm rambling. I want to do a shout out to our people, our officers, our police. Our family supports you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Paul. So my concern, Mayor, is that I think it was really kind of the police to give Paul a heads up, knowing the history there, and I don't want this to be a criticism of them, but I do think that there's an inconsistency where we have an expectation and a rule that is expected to be followed, and the school district didn't ask for a variance, which is not a particularly complicated process and most certainly would have been approved by the council. But then we have the enforcement agency kind of alerting someone that a rule's not going to be followed. And I just think it's really inconsistent, and that needs to be part of the cleanup process. To me, it gives the impression that the police are allowing a rule to be broken instead of what they're there for, which was to enforce rules that we have. And I just want to make sure that the rule of the police is consistent so that they're not put in a position where they have to appear permissive of a violation of rules, because I think they're an important part of our community, and I just want that consistency on the part of the city. Yeah.
Let me clarify if we lost translation here. When the officer came to my house, very cordial, we had a nice talk, it was appreciated.
Oh, absolutely.
And again, like I said, we're here to support our police, especially in this last few weeks here. We're in solidarity.
Yeah, well, I apologize if it came off like I was critical of them telling you. That's not it. I just want them to be telling you as part of the school following the rules.
Nope, it's clarification is all we're doing. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, no, I think it's great that they gave you a heads up if they knew, because I know that that's important. But then it's like, we want the school to tell all the neighbors if they're going to be in violation, if they're getting a variance, because I also heard from some other neighbors that they didn't know what was happening, and they were in the zone that would have been warned if a variance was applied for. And then they had some issues associated with that, with children, health issues, and pets. And I just want to make sure that all citizens are being treated fairly in the process. I think it's great that they came and told you, and I know that it was Canby has a great police force that's very courteous and looks out for their people. So I didn't mean it to seem critical of the police, more that I want the police to be there to enforce the rules, not to have to pick and choose who to tell what. You know what I mean? That's not really their role as city police. So
I understand, and I hope that this becomes a moot point to be talking about soon. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Melissa, did we have anyone else there this evening?
No, Mayor, there's no one else.
Okay. Do we have any community announcements at all of any kind?
No, we do not have any.
Okay. I will move into mayor's business. Just a couple of quick items. You may be seeing over the course of the next couple of evenings some construction cones and signage going up along 99. ODOT will be going through and doing some rut mitigation along 99, and so they'll be doing paving. I believe they'll be out this evening and tomorrow night, and this is precursor to a larger paving project that will go on 99, I believe going from Pine to Berg Parkway in 2021-22. So just be patient this evening and tomorrow evening as you're driving down 99 as that's going on. Second thing on my list this evening is, if you haven't heard, Governor Brown has had a press conference today talking about some of the results or current spike in the coronavirus cases around the state of Oregon. With increased testing and activities and counties opening up, there has been an increase in the number of confirmed cases. And so the governor is, unfortunately, I think she's tied Clackamas County to Multnomah County and Washington County. And so as that goes, we as Clackamas County won't be able to apply for phase 2 of opening up from a business perspective or as a city activity perspective until Multnomah County gets things under control and is they themselves ready to go into phase 2 whenever that may be. So right now, regarding that, we're on a 21-day hiatus for us to be able to go into phase 2 as Clackamas County. The other piece that she has put out there today is making it mandatory for masks in the public places. So if you are out and about, the governor has put Clackamas County, Multnomah County, Washington County, Hood River County, Marion, Polk, and Lincoln counties under the mandatory mask piece as you're out and about. As I understand from the article in the Willamette Week, as well as the Oregonian, there's still a lot of questions on what does that mean. I will tell you that I just heard about it this afternoon because I've had my head down at work dealing with COVID, I guess, remitigation here with my day job. So I've had not a lot of time to digest it and talk about it with our city manager and our city attorney. I will be doing that probably tomorrow and figure out what does that mean for Camby, for enforcement, and whatnot. So my gut is that that's going to be self-policing of your masks if you choose to wear them or not. If you are in a business, it'll be my guess as I look into it briefly today, is it'll be on that business to decide how they want to handle it with their customers as they come in to their business. I do not, I really don't see Canby Police playing a role in doing enforcement of people wearing their masks inside of Gwynn's or at the backstop or at Fred Meyer or whatever place that may be. That's not what I believe their job is to be. I will confirm that and have that conversation with the city attorney tomorrow, but I wanted to put that out there that is what's currently been handed down from the governor regarding trying to curtail the spread of COVID at this time. All intents and purposes that in reports that I'm seeing, hospitalizations have not seen quite the dramatic increase as the confirmed cases aspect of it with the testing. So we have had obviously a spike in many spots within the state, but I just wanted to relay that aspect of it in case people were wondering what does that mean for Canby. I don't. I'm going to reach out to Councilor Parker right now and ask him a question if he wants to unmute himself, since we were briefly talking about this. Did you happen to see, Councilor Parker, when the effective date of the public mask aspect was?
It was my understanding that it would be 2 days in the future. Joe, do you have that handy?
I think it's June 24th.
June 24th.
So Wednesday of next week?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Joe.
Okay, so yeah, it's Wednesday of next week is the first day, I believe. Isn't that the 24th? And it is technically, it's when you're out in the public indoors. So it has
Correct.
to be an indoor situation that is open to the public. So it isn't just anywhere out in the public. Although I assume it's just trying to raise the interest in wearing masks overall, is what it seems like.
Right, so it's public spaces inside, not if you're hanging out at Wade Park, throwing the Frisbee around, you don't need to necessarily wear a mask.
That's true.
Okay. So, as I have more conversation, or if there comes guidance from Governor Brown's office or from the county sheriff, we will communicate as best we can regarding that. Last thing that I've got is we had a parks meeting. So we are starting to fire up our boards and commissions with some virtual Zoom meetings. So hopefully we'll start to see some more activity regarding those things coming up. Last night's agenda was pretty jam-packed. We did a splash pad conversation, as well as discussed some Wayside park plan, master plan piece in that regards, and then some additional direction on some things from a parks perspective. The big piece was looking at like some basically low-hanging fruit that that the city could probably address from a parks perspective. One of them being, Maple Street Park, looking at some upgrades to that park and really make it kind of Canby's with the baseball fields there, or softball fields, or we'll say diamonds in the rough. But really highlighting that place. And then Locust Street Park was another focal point, which in the budget, we will have in this year's budget money for redoing playground equipment at Locust Street Park. And thirdly was doing, addressing some need there at Community Park in the, regarding the pond. So they felt that that was some low-hanging fruit that could be discussed and move forward this year and into early next year to just get some activities done with parks. There was conversation about the Wayside, Wayside Park, and looking at, I think the next meeting will be a conversation about that, the current master plan and what aspects of that can be looked at and or addressed, or if it's a, like we did for bringing in the Ackerman project, or when we were talking about that, doing an additional consultant come in and maybe take a look at it and revamp that plan, or give us maybe a look at it in terms of updating it. So that was the big conversation piece for last night's meeting on that. That's all that I have this evening. I will go around what I've got on my screen. So Councillor Berge, you are first, sir.
I am good tonight. I do not have anything.
Okay, thank you, sir. Councillor Spoon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Three quick items. Number one, we had another resignation on the Transit Advisory Committee, which means that we can't even meet quorum to hold meetings. So we had some new applications come in this week, and I think that we're going to be able to get that committee back up and running here quickly. But if anyone else is interested in applying, we have not yet done interviews for the appointment. So now is your chance to join the Transit Advisory Committee. Also, I just want to send my thoughts and prayers to Hope Village. I know that you're talking about COVID, but with 69 infections and 7 deaths over the last couple of weeks, many of whom are longtime members of this community, many church communities in the area, I just want to send some prayers their way and know that my thoughts are certainly with them. It's a tragic situation, and I hope that people are recovering now and we can move into a recovery phase as soon as possible. And then finally, Mr. Mayor, at the last meeting, I brought up a couple of action items we could have in relation to current events, and you asked me to email you about them, and I did, and I didn't hear back from you. So I was wondering if we could maybe have coffee this weekend to discuss them, or see how we can collaborate on some action on that discussion.
I did receive those, so thank you for sending them to me. The only opportunity I've really had to look at them right now is, unfortunately, to scan over those. Sure. There have been there's been a number of emails into my inbox over the last week and a half, 2 weeks or so on this topic, and so I will see what I can do about getting something scheduled with you and I soon.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
Councillor Parker.
Well, how about some fun and positive news to start off with? It appears that the Fair Board has received sufficient donations to proceed with a fully tricked out permanent year-round movie theater. These sort of things are changing day by day. We picked up a touchless ticket program the other day, and we're working with Camby Cinema on setting up the equipment. We need to bring in a electrician to put in something called 3-phase for the equipment, but it's pretty exciting. It's moving ahead. They say August, so we'll see. But that's real exciting from the Fair Board. In terms of the Adult Center, they've started having virtual meetings again as well. No in facilities that are taking place, but the Meals on Wheels continues to be, I think, even more important. And a real shout out and thank you to the drivers and the kitchen staff who are coming in and preparing those meals. The drivers also provide some social contact with the people that they bring the meals to. Also, they are having a check-in program weekly with all of the people who have signed up who attend the usual programs at the Canby Adult Center, so that volunteers check in, make sure they've got groceries, and have a little bit of social interaction on the phone at least. Bike committee, I think that's going to be firing up later this month. They're trying to figure that out. A comment about the Wayside Park study. Thank you for pushing this forward. I went back and reread, what is this, a 17-year-old master plan, and the phase one still holds up. You know, it's building a walking trail around that property and expanding the parking lot. They have some cost projections. I'd say we do what we did in terms of a precedent with the Ackerman Fields, allocate a modest amount of money, $8,000, bring somebody in, take a look at those cost numbers, and move ahead with that. Remember, in our visioning project years ago, the number one thing that our citizens said was that they wanted more trails. And then finally, to join with Sarah on the loss of souls that we've had this week, particularly at Hope Village. The empathy for the people who work there and come in every day. And some days they've left with clients, patients that won't be there the next day. And for our first responders who have to come and respond to that time after time. It is good that we don't get used to this, that these are hard times. It's hard on all of us, but my empathy to those who are involved in that particular struggle. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Definitely tough times there at Hope Village, and all these, I mean, really, in all the assisted living places have to be so careful and so buttoned up regarding this. So thank you. I appreciate that. Council President Dale.
Yes, sir. Thank you. From Camby Utility, they have just approved their next fiscal year budget. The utility is in good financial shape. For their growth projections, they work with the city in terms of what kind of permits are going on and such. Just for the sake of curiosity and for the public, they have budgeted based on 85 new homes across 3 subdivisions, 1 new apartment complex, and 2 additional commercial or industrial buildings in our park. So that's the basis of their growth projection. Not quite as frantic as previous years, but still some good growth coming on. Of interesting note, if you're a tech nerd, is Camby does have a couple server farms in it whose power is supplied by Camby Utility, and that has risen to almost $500,000 in power revenue yearly now. So they're becoming a significant customer on their own. We should, this is just early fair warning to the public, we should be expecting a modest water rate increase in the fall. There was not one last year. It will catch up with us this year. Canby Utility has done a bit of a land sale and shift. As many of you know, they own slightly more than half of the interest down at the land that our city shops sit on. Actually belongs to Cub. And that's divided between the water side and the electric side. Well, the power side has sold their interest to the water side, and that will secure the property for a future wastewater treatment plant. And they wanted to do that now while there was money available, and rather than wait potentially 10, 20 years when prices will be even higher. So we've got the dirt for our future water treatment plant. They are going ahead with phase 2 of their construction at the 4th and Pine headquarters and shops. There's a whole nother phase to be built out of there, and that, when completed, will let them basically evacuate where they are down at the city shops now and host all of their equipment and staff up at 4th and Pine. And then finally, on a fun note, Canby Utility will turn 50 this year. There's a lot of interesting history about why it was invented and such, and those of us like Greg and I that have been in Oregon a long time will remember Whoops way back in the day, which is part of the reason we have Canby Utility today. Stay tuned for celebration. They typically do have everyone come and have hot dogs and hamburgers and see the equipment type of celebration. It may happen this fall. It all depends on COVID. If not this fall, we'll catch it again about a year from now when the weather's good again. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the update. Last but not least, Councilor Barwick.
Yes, thank you, sir. Camby Library had their meeting last night, and unfortunately, due to a work engagement, I was not able to attend it virtually. So I'm still waiting for an update from our library director, and I'll be reaching out to her for that. And so I apologize I don't have that tonight. I will have that at the next meeting. The Camby Fire Board is virtually meeting as we speak as well, working on their work session to try and get things going again for their meeting. So that's also via Zoom. So obviously I'm here with you guys and not with them. So I'll have information from that meeting at the next one as well. So that's all I have, and I'm with
Great. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I apologize. I did miss something. I wanted to give a shout out to Sandy at the building department. She's been awarded through the Department of Land Conservation and Development a $50,000 grant to conduct and produce an economic opportunity analysis. With that, they've contracted with a consulting firm to help them with it, and she's also already organized and put together a project advisory committee that'll help work with the staff and the consultants. So she's done a great job of putting it all together from start to finish already.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Councilor Burry, for that. I appreciate it. Sandy's, she's going to do some, two new staff people in the planning department, and Ryan Potter being moved into a new role as well. I think we've got some real strength there in horsepower in our planning department. So I'm really excited of what's going to come out of there. So thanks for that update. I appreciate it.
Mayor Hodson, this is Amanda.
Yeah.
Just since Councilor Berge mentioned that economic opportunity analysis, as part of that project advisory, that project committee, we'll be asking if 2 council members want to participate on that. So I will be sending you an email in the morning, and with all of the information, and anybody that is interested in participating on that committee can respond back to Sandy, and she'll get you on the committee.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilor Spoon, did you have something, or no? Okay. Moving to the consent agenda for the evening. Anyone want to jump on that one?
I got it.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Just had to grab my paper. Mr. Mayor, I move for the approval of the minutes of the June 3rd, 2020 City Council work session and regular meeting, and the reappointment of Mark Treebosser to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been made by Council President Dale and seconded by Councilor Garwick to approve the consent agenda, which includes the approval of the minutes of the June 3rd, 2020 City Council work session and regular meeting, and reappointment of Mark Treebosser to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Any other questions, comments, or discussion? By a show of hands on your screens, all those in favor? Thank you. By a show of hands, anyone opposing? That passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is we move into all of our fun, heavy-hitting budget pieces. But first up is a public hearing regarding the state revenue sharing funds, and followed on its heels with public hearing regarding the budget as approved by the Budget Committee, and then a slew of ordinances. So first we will do, I'll read the public hearing format, and that'll cover us for both of these, and then we will get into each one individually. The matter presently before the hearing body requires a public hearing. All interested persons in attendance shall be heard on the matter. And in compliance with Executive Order number 20-16 related to public meetings during coronavirus outbreak, opportunity was given to sign up or provide testimony by 5 p.m. today. No request for comment or testimony was received by the city recorder, and no one from the public is present in the council chambers. Is that still holding true, Miss Melissa?
Yes.
Thank you. A decision shall be made by the hearing body at the close of the hearing, or the matter will be continued to a date certain in the future. This will be the only notice of the date you will receive. Does anyone have any questions about the procedures of the hearing? All right. We will have our staff report, which will be done by Director Julie Blums. Questions, if any, by the hearing body or staff. I will then open the public hearing for testimony. Proponents will have not more than 3 minutes. Opponents not more than 3 minutes. I will close the public hearing, then questions by the hearing body, and then discussion by the hearing body. So we'll take them, Joe or Melissa. The items A and B under 7 on the agenda should be taken separately, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. So we'll start with item 7A, which is a public hearing regarding state revenue sharing funds. Julie, it is all yours.
Thank you. So tonight we have before you our resolution to elect to receive state revenue sharing funds. This is something the state requires every municipality to do each year, and affirm that we do want to receive these funds from the state. So this is just the annual business to tell them that yes, we do want to receive the state revenue sharing funds. And this is an opportunity for the public to weigh in if they have something specific they would like to see these funds spent on. Right now they're budgeted as just general operating revenue in the general fund.
Great. Any questions from the group here? Okay, not seeing any. I will open up the public hearing. And Melissa, is there anyone there, opponent or proponent wise?
No, Mayor.
Okay. I will officially close the public hearing on the matter. Questions from the group regarding the state revenue sharing? Do we want these? Any concerns about taking those? We want to give them back to the state. I'm seeing lots of head shaking no. Okay, good to know. Discussion at all? All right, that takes care of 7A. We'll move into 7B, which is a public hearing regarding the 2020-2021 fiscal year budget as adopted by the Budget Committee. We'll also have Julie weigh in on that one, please.
All right, thank you again, Mayor. So this resolution is, again, an annual resolution to adopt our fiscal year budget. The city's budget committee met in May. They met for 2 different meetings and reviewed the proposed budget that the staff had put together. And they made one change, a slight change in where we were going to fund a position. But other than that, it was approved with as is, with that one change to it. And so this is your opportunity to do one final review, and if there's any final changes you need to make, now's the time.
Great, thank you very much. So yeah, as Julia said, so we every May we go through our budget meeting cycle, and so we have a group, it's the city council and a number of community members that make up our city budget committee. And so Julie, or if either one of the councilors, any highlights that we want to put out? Obviously the budget, once approved, will be on the city's website, and you can look at the budget and download it and go through it if you wish. You'll see the final numbers in that regard. But is there any pieces that Julie, we should throw out there as items for the community to know about the budget?
Thank you. Yes, a couple of things. This budget, as we talked about at the committee level, we kind of had to do a little bit of redo once COVID hit, and trying to project what our revenues might be over the next few months or longer. So really this budget is a pretty much status quo budget. We are filling a position that we've had budgeted for a couple of years. We just haven't been able to fill it yet. But otherwise it is a pretty status quo budget. We're still going to get our capital projects done, and revenue projections in certain areas that will definitely be hit due to COVID. We've done about a 25% reduction as the estimate going into next year, but we may have to reevaluate that depending on how long this goes on.
Yeah, Julie, again, I want to commend you and the city staff team, as well as the council. We ran our reserves pretty low back in 2008, 2009 during that recession period. And so we really sharpened our pencils and really honed in on building back up the reserves for a rainy day. And because we didn't want to go back to really some pretty draconian staff cuts that we had to make back then. And so I think with what we've achieved here over the last couple of years on still being, we'll say, frugal and responsible in terms of what we were doing to build the reserves back up, I think it's put us in a position where I think we will weather this COVID storm here financially as a city pretty well. Obviously, we'll see what happens over the next couple of months, and what comes down from the state in terms of final numbers coming out of that. But I thank you to you, Julie, and Amanda, and the city team for really keeping things buttoned up and keeping us moving forward on that. So thank you for that. That's not easy to do when, there's stuff that wants to be, with things that need to be or want to be done for a city to have to hold back on some of those. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions before I open up the public hearing for item 7B? No? All right. I will open up the public hearing for item 7B. And Melissa, any opponents or proponents there regarding this item?
No, Mayor, there are none.
Okay. Then I will close the public hearing regarding the 2020-21 fiscal budget and move into questions from the council. Any clarifying questions, items that we wanted to bring back forward and discuss? We're pretty well satisfied with the budget that's been put together by the budget committee and has been finalized and put in front of us. Okay. Then that will wrap up our conversation on that. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Julie. We'll start going through looks like 7 resolutions and ordinances for the evening. First resolution this evening is number 1334, a resolution adopting the supplemental budget that we just had a public hearing on for the fiscal year that we are just finishing. So 2019-2020.
You ready for me?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Thank you.
So we had a situation arise in the last few weeks where FERS had sent out some information that the money that was allocated for the matching funds through the Employer Incentive Fund program may not be available come July 1. The state may unappropriate them for that purpose and use them somewhere else. They don't know yet for sure. It may be all, it may be some. And what it comes down to is if you have your contribution in by June 30th, you're guaranteed your match if you were approved for it. If you roll the dice and wait till July 1, you might not get any. So I put together a supplemental to be able to do that contribution by June 30th in this fiscal year rather than next fiscal year, because I am not sure if that's something, a risk we want to take. We certainly can wait if you choose to. I'm a little nervous and concerned that money will be defunded and we will lose our opportunity for that match. So that's the biggest chunk of this supplemental budget. There's money in here, additional money to appropriate from our SDC fund to transfer to the sewer fund for our pump station project. It's a timing thing. Thought it would carry over into next year. It looks like we're going to wrap it up this year, so I need to get the money put into this year's budget. And then again, some additional money on the South Ivy sewer project from 2nd to 13th. And I have in here an additional $5,000 for our COVID line item that we created where we're accumulating all of our expenditures. Originally, last month when I brought you the supplemental, I asked for appropriation for $15,000. We have quickly eaten through that, and so I'm asking for an additional $5,000. I did find out today that our first reimbursement request through the CARES Act, through the state, has been approved. So far, everything that I have put in for reimbursement has been approved to be reimbursed, which is good news. So that is the crux of this supplemental budget.
Thank you, Julie. And yeah, so again, I really want to stress the aspect of the $500,000 contribution piece. That could be a substantial savings for the city long term regarding the PERS piece. And hopefully that this supplemental piece will pass with that in it, which I suspect that it will. Because can't say that I'm not surprised that this is being changed up. I'm sure that this is the first of many things that we'll see coming out of the state legislature that might be getting changed up to make things, I guess, more sustainable and solvent there with the, I think, already projected the $2.5 billion shortfall that's projected. So comments, questions for Julie regarding the resolution 1334. I'll go Councilor Barwig, then Council President Dale.
So taking $310,000 from reserves this year instead of putting the $500,000 next year, are we going to replace those $300,000 in reserves next year with the money that would have come for this next year?
Yes, basically we just won't spend it next year. When we get to approving the budget for next year, which is the next item, we can talk about whether you want to remove those funds from the appropriations before you adopt it, or whether you want to just adopt it as is with the caveat that we won't be spending that money in next year because we're spending it now.
I don't mind how it's listed as long as we make sure we get that $300,000 back into the reserves. I don't want to, take that money and then have an extra $300,000 sitting around next year. So, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Councilor Barley. Council President Dale.
Yeah, that was pretty much my question, Julie. Is do you want us to fix this right before as part of the budget approval, or does it work better for you to come back with a supplemental budget in the next quarter? I would just like the reserves to reflect reality instead of a promise that we won't spend it down. Either way works for me.
I have a second version of the resolution just in case, because I wasn't sure which direction you would want to go. So I am fine with either direction when we get to that one.
Yeah, I'm fine with the pleasure of the council, Your Honor. I would just like the reserves to reflect reality rather than the wink and a nod that we won't spend it. Let's just keep it accurate.
Yeah, I agree that with both of those comments from you gentlemen about, I don't want it just a handshake. I want to figure out how we get it memorialized as quickly as possible. But yes, we don't lose track of that. Not that I think that we would. Julie does a great job of keeping those things dialed in. I just want to make sure that we dot I's and cross T's. Councilor Parker, you had your hand waving.
Well, I just thought I'd give Julie a shot to impress us. Is there a simple way to explain this when I'm picking up bananas at Thriftway and people say, what was it you did with the purse thing?
A simple way, huh? Really what this is we have money sitting in an internal reserve right now that we have been putting away for several years. Haley started it as my predecessor. And what we're doing is we're going to take that money and an additional amount to equal $500,000. And we are going to put it in an account directly with PERS where it will, over time, earn better interest than what we can earn in our bank account. And by doing that, we will get a 25% match on our funds from the state that will be used to offset future rate increases to our PERS rates. Is that simple enough?
By paying early, we get free money, sort of.
There you go.
It's sort of free.
Sort of free.
Mr. Mayor, I think if she's got an additional resolution, I think we might as well just do the other resolution tonight and just get this all done right now instead of having to worry about it again later.
Yeah, just fix it now.
I agree. I think that's a great suggestion. Julie, so you have different language for resolution 1334?
Not for this one. For the budget adoption, I do.
Okay. Great. So when we get there, let's roll forward with the different language or new language so we can make that happen.
Okay.
Great. Any other comments on our discussion for 1334 before we take a motion? Okay, I will take a motion if someone's so inclined.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt Resolution 1334, a resolution adopting the supplemental budget for fiscal year 2019-2020.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Second.
Motion has been made by Councilor Varwig, seconded by Councilor Berge to approve resolution number 1334, a resolution adopting a supplemental budget for the 2019-2020 fiscal year. Any further conversation or discussion? But a show of hands, all those in favor? I see 5. Thank you. Anyone opposed? I see 0 hands. So that passes 5-0. Next is resolution number 1335, a resolution declaring the city's election to receive state revenue for fiscal year 2021. Julie, we're back to you.
Yeah, so this is our annual adoption of a resolution telling the state that we do want to, in fact, receive state shared revenue.
Great. Questions for Julie on state shared revenue? Seeing none, no questions. Any discussion? None in that regards. Okay. Motion, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move for 1335, a resolution declaring the city's election to receive state revenue for fiscal year 2020-2021.
Second.
Thank you. And Councilor Barwick, was that you for the second? Thank you. Motion's been made by Council President Dale and seconded by Councilor Barwick to approve resolution number 1335, a resolution declaring the city's election to receive state revenue for fiscal year 2020-2021. Show of hands for all those in favor. Great. Anyone hands for those opposed? That carries 5-0. Next up is resolution number 1336, a resolution adopting the budget, making appropriations, and opposing and categorizing taxes for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. Miss Julie.
Thank you. I believe Melissa's trying to send you a copy of the revised resolution I put together so that you can, just to the mayor, so you can have it in front of you. Hopefully it's coming through. What it does is the revised resolution changes the total appropriations for all funds. It changes it from $32,212,195. It changes it to $31,724,293.
Mr. Mayor, can we all get a copy of that if we're going to be voting on it? I'd like to be able to see it before I vote on something.
Yeah, Melissa's gonna get it out to her.
Hey, Melissa, do you have a share screen capabilities?
No, I don't think so. She's on a different computer than the one I'm on talking to you.
Okay, but so with the Zoom feature though, you can do a share screen. So if she's got it on her screen, she can share it and it'll pop up for us all to see it currently. Or if she wants to disable my share function, I can do that.
Okay, give us just a second. Let's see what we can do here.
Okay.
Are you able to do that now, Mayor?
Ooh, I am. And let me find it again. Resolution 1336. Okay. Is everyone seeing that?
Yes, very good, sir.
Yep, I see it.
And Julie, is this the correct one?
Can you scroll down a little bit and let me see if the dollar amount at the bottom is correct? Yes, this is the one.
Great. So, Julie, just for those of us here on the screen and watching at home, you maybe just kind of walk through what we've got here on the screen so that we're all just up to speed and up, all singing from the same hymnal.
Yes, the top portion, under resolution imposing and categorizing the tax, this is a requirement by the state that we have to designate what our permanent rate is for both our the city's permanent rate and what our local option tax rate is, and that the city's permanent rate is 3.4886 per thousand of assessed value, and our local option tax for the swim center is 49 cents per 1,000 of assessed value. And then we categorize it, and it is we do not have any debt limitation on it, and so our rates are part of the general government limitation, which is a total of $10 per 1,000 of real market value. So all jurisdictions that fall under the general government section, all of our taxes together cannot be more than $10 per 1,000 of of real market value. So that's that section. The next section is just resolution adopting the budget, and then the bottom section is making the appropriations, and page 2 is the detail of the appropriations by fund and department. So these have all been updated to take the spending of that money out for next year, since we're going to do it in the current year.
Just for the council here, as we're obviously getting into some potential conversation pieces here this evening, if you're going to reference something from the budget, if you wouldn't mind letting us know what you're referencing, where in the budget you're at, and giving us time to find where we're at, because I know we're juggling various screens and or printed material going through this. Is there any questions about the change that Julie is putting out here as this for us budget? We see Councilor Parker, Councilor Spooner off screen, but any questions or comments? And every year it amazes me that when I remember first starting on the city council when our adopted budget, and being somewhat amazed that we run a city the way we do. At the time, I think it was $32 million in terms of the total adopted budget. And now with everything that we do as a city and what we've got in reserves and whatnot, to be responsible for and adopting a budget of nearly $56.5 million tells you the growth that we've had as a city over the last 10 years and what it takes to run a city of our size in terms of currently and then planning for the future. So, any other comments or questions on this change that we're looking to adopt this evening? Does everybody get a chance to see either via their email, because I did send it to you all, or what's here on the screen? Okay. Any questions, comments for Julie on Resolution 1336? I will comment, I do appreciate, so again, for the general public, we do get these budgets. So the city staff starts working on the budget for the next fiscal year, beginning of the calendar year. We literally turn around and start working on it. And we usually get the budgets delivered to us towards the end of April for us to review and begin looking over and working on. And one of the graphs that I always find interesting that always comes up around budget time is if you go to page 52 in your packet, or page 26 of the budget, it gives you the breakdown of where a dollar of your taxes go. And when we look at what we pay for property taxes, to the city only gets 25% of your property tax bill. We don't get much. And so that's when we look into what makes up our revenue is utility fees, intergovernmental pieces, charges for services, grants and donations, franchise fees, infrastructure fees, transit and room taxes, interest, and then some of the projects and things for our police officers are fines and forfeitures. So it's always interesting that what goes into what makes up our revenue as a city and what we're able to get accomplished. So I just found that always interesting when we get into this time of the year. Julie, anything else that we need to know regarding this, or anything else that we should bring up at this time and juncture?
I have nothing else. The biggest thing was just updating it to take that money out of the appropriations for next year.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we did that, and I appreciate coming prepared and ready to help us make that change. So thank you. All right. If there's nothing else regarding Resolution 1336, I will take a motion.
I move to adopt Resolution 1336, a resolution adopting the budget, making appropriations, and proposing the categorized tax for the 2020-2021 fiscal year.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a second?
I got a second on that, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Spoon. So motion's been made by Councilor Berge and seconded by Councilor Spoon to adopt Resolution 1336, a resolution adopting the budget, making appropriations, and imposing and categorizing taxes for the 2020-2021 fiscal year as presented and amended from the original packet piece. Any further conversation or questions? All right, show of hands of those that approve. Thank you. Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0. Next up is Resolution 1337, a resolution authorizing an interfund loan from the Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund to the Library Fund in the amount of $500,000 and authorizing repayment of the interfund loan in fiscal year 2020-2021. Julia, I'm presuming that that's you once again.
It is. This is the last time you have to listen to me tonight. So this is our resolution. The library runs on such a tight budget that they do not have the cash flow between July 1st and January, because they do not get their big source of revenue until January from the county in their tax dollars. And so there's not enough of the cash flow to keep them open. So we do this loan from our Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund for the first 6-7 months of the year to keep them afloat, and then it is paid back once their tax revenue is received.
Great. Thank you, Julie. Questions or comments regarding what Julie has presented to us and what the resolution entails? Councilor Parker?
Well, back in the old days, didn't it seem to me that we used to carry $300,000 as an ending balance in the library fund each year to carry that forward to do this same function? Seems to me when I first got on the council, that's the way we did things. I guess this seems to make more sense.
There isn't 300,000 to carry forward. They've used all the reserves.
Then this seems to be a more reasonable thing to do.
Right. For the public, it's just a bridge loan, and it does earn interest.
It does. And it's not an ideal situation. And to your comments, Councilor Parker, yes, we did carry that forward from year to year for a period of time, and then we squared that away where that wasn't the case. And now we're back to that point of having to figure out how to create that bridge loan situation. Any other comments or questions regarding Resolution 1337? All right, I will take a motion if someone is so inclined.
I move to adopt Resolution 1337, the resolution authorizing an interfund loan from the Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund to the Library Fund in the amount of $500,000 and authorizing repayment of the interfund loan in fiscal year 2020-2021.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Motion has been made by Councilor Berge and seconded by Councilor Varwig to approve Resolution 1337, a resolution authorizing an interfund loan from the Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund to the Library Fund in the amount of $500,000 and authorizing repayment of the interfund loan in fiscal year 2020-2021. Any further discussion? Comments? Show of hands, all those in favor? I see 5. Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Julie. Appreciate all the work on the budget and all the financial wrangling that you've been doing these last couple of months to get us to this point. So thank you. All right. Next up is resolution number 1338, a resolution extending workers' compensation coverage to volunteers of the city of Camby and repealing resolution 1313. Mrs. Iber, I believe this is your bailiwick.
Yes, thank you very much. Each year we do a resolution extending workers' compensation coverage to volunteers of the city of Canby. And this covers boards and commissions and other volunteers that work on projects such as library volunteers or parks projects, people that work events, which we count on greatly, and we do often have a very good showing of volunteers. So this resolution, we extend the coverage to them every year with CIS, City County Insurance Services. It is a pretty standard form that we use. You'll note that Independence Day celebration event is still listed on there. And that's just saying that as basically a placeholder for an event that we may have. It doesn't necessarily have to be that exact event. At the end of the fiscal year, we will report back to City County Insurance Services the hours that we tracked from the volunteers throughout the year and events that we had. So again, that event may not have taken place this year, but we might have other events during the fiscal year where we will have volunteers that we will cover.
Great. Yeah, this is, thank you, Amanda, for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is another one of the, I don't want to say boilerplate, but it's definitely one of the ones that we revisit year after year to make sure that we are squared away regarding volunteers and whatnot. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Councilor Parker, did you have a question?
Well, just a comment. Serving on 2 boards, the Clackamas County Fair Board just approved its budget, and our insurance rates went down by about 40% because they projected the fact that we weren't going to have a fair, we weren't going to have a rodeo, we weren't going to have a Ren fair and these sort of things. So it went from $70,000 a year down to $40,000 a year with our local insurance person. So Amanda, it sounds kind of like our future assessments will be based upon past experience. Is that the way it works, even though this is really a weird year?
Yeah, at the beginning of every fiscal year, we just give an estimate of what we anticipate for volunteer needs throughout the year, and then we report actual at the end of the year. So I think you're right. I think that we'll probably have some reductions based on events that were canceled.
So Amanda and Councilor Parker, thank you for asking that question. So I guess just to seek clarification here. So what's kind of a retroactive piece with the insurance company. So if we don't do these events here, like as we finished out this year, or as we've moved through the first quarter of our fiscal year. So coming up after next year, we'll see either a reduction throughout the year as the year goes on, or we'll see a payback for what we didn't need the insurance for.
There's actually 2 pieces. So the resolution is necessary and required by City County Insurance Services for us to say who we believe we will have for volunteers throughout the year. So we list boards and commissions, city events that we know we're going to have generally, and other general volunteers that we might have. And that needs to be in place in order for them to extend workers' compensation coverage. So if we were to have a claim throughout the year, we've already said we anticipated these volunteers. Then we get invoiced. There might be an adjustment at the end of the year based on if we didn't have these things. But right now, what we're just doing is saying this is who we think we're going to have for volunteers throughout the year, to make sure that if we do use these volunteers, they are covered throughout the year.
Great. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Council President Dale?
Amanda, it's been a while. Can you remind us, does CIS provide full workman's comp coverage, or is it supplemental?
They provide full coverage.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this for city staff? Okay, seeing that, I'll take a motion, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt Resolution 1338, a resolution extending workers' compensation coverage to volunteers of the City of Canby and repealing Resolution 1313.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Councilor Berge. Appreciate it. Motion's been made by Councilor Barwig and seconded by Councilor Berge to adopt Resolution 1338, a resolution extending workers' compensation coverage to volunteers of the City of Canby and repealing Resolution 1313. All those in favor, show hands. Great, thank you. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that passes 5-0. Next up is ordinance number 1528, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and interim city administrator to execute a contract with Master Clean Incorporated for janitorial services for various city facilities not to exceed $60,583 and repealing ordinance 1509. So again, we went over this at our last meeting. This is just for our contract with the janitorial company that takes care of our city hall and library, and I think maybe some other office areas throughout the city. Unless there's any comments or questions for Amanda regarding this contract from last time? No? All right. I will take a motion then, please.
I move to approve ordinance number 1528, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and interim city administrator to execute a contract with Master Clean Incorporated for janitorial services for various city facilities not to exceed $60,583 and repealing ordinance 1509.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Councilor Spoon, is that a second, or are you giving me the peace sign?
Both, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, well, thank you. So motion's been made by Councilor Berge and seconded by Councilor Spoon to approve ordinance number 1528, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and interim city administrator to execute a contract with Master Clean Incorporated for janitorial services for various city facilities not to exceed $60,583 and repealing ordinance 1509. And that is a roll call vote.
Councilor Berge?
Aye.
Council President Dale?
Aye.
Councilor Parker?
Aye.
Councilor Spoon?
Aye.
Councilor Varwig?
Aye.
Great, that carries 5-0. Next on the list here and last resolution and ordinance item is ordinance number 1529, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and interim city administrator to execute a contract with Kin Technology Incorporated to continue to provide computer technical services for the city and not to exceed $110,000 and repealing ordinance 1506. Again, this was on our agenda the last time, and again, contract services to keep computers running, data servers functional and operational, and in the wonderful world of COVID, people working from home if need be and so desired. Amanda, is there anything else that we should add to this particular conversation?
No, I don't believe so.
Great. I will take a motion regarding this unless there's questions or discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance number 1529, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and interim city administrator to execute a contract with Kin Technology Incorporated to continue to provide computer technical services for the city not to exceed $110,000 and repealing ordinance number 1506.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Berge. Motion's been made by Councilor Spoon and seconded by Councilor Berge to approve ordinance number 1529, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and interim city administrator to execute a contract with Kin Technology Incorporated to continue to provide computer technical services for the city not to exceed $110,000 and repealing ordinance 1506, and a roll call vote. If you'll unmute so Miss Melissa can call on you all.
Councilor Berge?
Aye.
Council President Dale?
Aye.
Councilor Parker?
Want to try that again, Greg?
Yes, aye.
Thank you.
Councilor Spoon?
Aye.
Councilor Varwig?
Abstain.
That's right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. All those in, oh, sorry, roll call vote. Haha, so that carries 4 yeas, no nos, and 1 abstention, so 401. Thank you all very much. Next topic of conversation is under new business is the cancellation of July 1st City Council meeting. Had some conversation with a couple of you about potentially doing some agenda items for conversation, and then and working with and talking with our city recorder, Melissa. There was nothing really on the agenda necessarily, and we've got some staff vacations that are occurring here, and I think 1 or 2 counselors that may be out as well. So I know that we talked about maybe still holding that and trying to do some conversation pieces. I will work with Melissa and Amanda to heavily load up our agenda here for the next summer months, since it doesn't look like we'll be doing much except reading and setting policy. So are there any thoughts on the first and the meeting? Councilor Spoon.
I was an advocate of having it, but if we have staff vacations and counselors out of town and nothing necessary for the agenda, I don't see to schedule it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Everyone seems to be kind of in agreement there. We just need a head nod on this, Melissa.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. So we will cancel. Thank you, Tim. Council President Dale, I appreciate the thumbs up. We will cancel our July 1st City Council meeting, and we'll figure. I wish everyone will figure out a fun way to celebrate our nation's Independence Day. So I appreciate that. Thank you. That concludes new business. City Administrator business and staff reports. Ms. Zeiber.
Thank you. As I mentioned earlier in the meeting, we're preparing a summary project update list for you. You should have that very soon. I had hoped to have that for this evening's meetings, but I'm actually getting a lot of information put together, so didn't have it ready for tonight, but you should have that by the end of the week. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Second opportunity for citizen input. I don't know if we have anyone else there, Melissa, for us.
That's correct. Nobody else.
Okay. And action review.
All right, you have approved the consent agenda, approved resolutions 1334, 1335, 1336, 1337, 1338, and ordinance number 1528 and 1529, and you've canceled the July 1st, 2020 City Council meeting.
Great. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Joe, we haven't heard much from you, but I'll give you your opportunity. Joe, do we have an exec session this evening?
We do not. Wait, actually we do.
Joseph Lindsay, come on, your one opportunity tonight.
I was going to try to steal the show and say Happy Independence Day, but we have an exec session, so I'll just refrain.
Well, then let me read that, since we do. The City Council will now recess this meeting to meet in executive session for the purpose of conducting deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry out labor negotiations. The executive session is held pursuant to ORS 192.660, Parent 2, Parent D.